Welcome to the DC Animated Movie Show, the YouTube series and podcast for the prestigious, ongoing catalog of DC animated movies. I am your host, Benjamin David. We are live on our YouTube channel, Above and Batman Beyond, and the audio from tonight's episode will also be on our DC Animated Movie Show podcast, so be sure to subscribe to both. And a special treat for this review tonight is also a crossover episode between our DC Animated Movie Show and the Above and Batman Beyond podcast. Part 1 will be on our ABB, and Part 2 will be on the DCAMS pod. So if you don't already subscribe to both podcasts, then subscribe to both podcasts. Now is the time so you can find both parts of today's review. So tonight we review the newest of DC animated movies, Justice Society World War II. JS World War II is now available in digital with a physical release of May 11th. I have seen this movie twice now, and fair warning, tonight will be a spoiler review of JS World War II. So if you haven't seen the flick yet, pause this episode, go back and watch it, and then come on back for our spoilers. Since we are live here on YouTube, if you're joining us in chat, please feel free to drop some Q's and some A's as well, and your own thoughts on JS World War II, or any other questions and comments on DC animated movies. As always, we love to hear what you guys think, as much as we love to hear Benjamin talk. So before we jump into it, if you're new here at the channel, please subscribe. Please consider subscribing on YouTube. Click that notification bell so you don't miss any of our new content. And for the podcast listeners, please subscribe to the pod, just like the vid series. We are DC Animated Movie Show. You can find the podcast on Apple, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts. Again, this particular episode is available in both video and audio form, so you get to pick your poison for today's show. But again, please subscribe to both, since there's plenty of YouTube stuff you're obviously not going to find on the podcast, and vice versa. Follow us on Instagram. We are at DC Animated Movie Show, and follow the YouTube channel as well. We are at Batman Beyond Media. Excuse me. And finally, speaking of JS World War II, if you haven't seen our newest vid here in the channel, then definitely go back and check it out. I'll put the link in the description below. The new videos, part of our DCAM Fun Facts series, giving you 5 behind-the-scenes facts on Justice Society World War II. Again, you can find that video right here on our YouTube channel, and the audio is up on our DCAMS podcast feed. All right, Americans, the work begins now. Let us review Justice Society World War II. All right, let's see if there's anyone live with us here on YouTube. I am glad as you can see, this is our hotel studio. We're between studios right now. So these are my illustrious hotel curtains that, are totally part of the plan here, of course. All right, so for those of us joining us live here on YouTube, thank you for your patience. Please feel free to drop us a question anytime, or let us know what you think of Justice Society World War II. So first, we'll talk about some Blu-ray release details. Excuse me, frog in my throat. First, we'll talk about some Blu-ray and release details for JS World War II, such as the DC Showcase short Kamandi, Last Boy on Earth. That comes out with this film, as well as the exclusive limited edition Blu-ray coming out on the 11th. And then, of course, we'll get to my review. But before we do that, as always, let's check in with the trusty internet. I should say the Internet Movie Database for some quick IMDb trivia on Justice Society World War II. So the synopsis of JS World War II: the Justice Society of America, a group of heroes aiding the Allies in World War II, acquire an ally from the future who sends them on an adventure that changes history. Again, JS World War II dropped digitally on April 27th with a physical release of May 11th. The film was directed by Jeff Wamester. I am not familiar with him, so I'm excited to see his new work. Produced by Jim Krieg and Butch Lukic. Butch Lukic, Batman Beyond represent. And JS World War II is co-written by Megan Fitzmartin and Jeremy Adams. Kind of cool getting 2 writers on this one. The latter of whom, Jeremy Adams, wrote this year's Batman Soul of the Dragon, one of my favorite DC animated movies ever. And it is the newest of WB's DC animated movies to come, right before this one. So it was Batman Soul of the Dragon, and now JS Dub 2, both written by Jeremy Adams. So some quick casting here. We have Stana Katic as Wonder Woman, Matt Bomer as Flash, Barry Allen Flash, Omid Abtahi as Hawkman, Jeffrey Arend as, sorry, that's not like a main, let's do main cast here. Darren Criss as Superman Clark Kent, who's coming back from Superman Man of Tomorrow. We have, Chris Diamantopoulos as Steve Trevor. Iris West is Ashley Lathrop. Matthew Mercer is Hourman. Liam McIntyre is Aquaman. Alicia Rotaru is Black Canary. And Armin Taylor, my personal favorite, I think, in this whole cast is Jay Garrick, Flash. Golden Age. I was about to say Golden Age. Golden Age. Jay Garrick, Flash. Old school, baby. So that's our cast. This is from IGN. This is the 42nd entry in the DC Universe movie franchise and the first to feature this Golden Age superhero team. 42nd movie. It's kind of hard to believe. And then we have, again, it's pretty exciting. It's the first out of 42 to feature the Golden Age JSA. Some history on the JSA, Justice Society of America in the comics. This is also from IGN. The JSA is a, quote, classic Golden Age superhero team. Golden Age refers to like the beginning of superhero comics. So you had 1939 is, Detective 27. And then Action Comics, I believe, is 1938, the year before that, with the birth of Superman, the birth of Batman. And then just a year or two later was Wonder Woman. So late 30s, early 40s, through the 50s, I believe, through the 40s, 30s, 40s is Golden Age, in case you're not familiar. Then you have the Silver Age of comics into the 50s and 60s, and then the 70s, 80s is going to be your Bronze Age. And then, of course, graphic novel age after that with your Frank Miller, Dark Knight Returns, and all that. But anyway, so the Golden Age superhero team, this is the first superhero team, actually, that was born out of the minds of Sheldon Mayer and Gardner Fox. The team debuted in 1941's All-Star Comics #3, predating the Justice League by almost 2 decades. I didn't know that. So if it's, 1941, definitely Golden Age, and then you have 20 years later, again, that's the Silver Age. So Justice League was definitely Silver Age characters. It's cool getting that timeline info. So some Blu-ray release details, and then we'll jump into my review. So again, JSWW 2 dropped digitally April 27th, Blu-rays May 11th. Best Buy exclusive with Barry Allen Flash figure. That's coming. I also ordered not only that, but the Scorpion's Revenge exclusive. I couldn't help myself. In case you're not familiar, Best Buy almost always does exclusives with a figurine that comes with the DCAM, the DC animated movie. And typically they're at, again, Best Buy. Special features, both digital and Blu-ray. I bought my digital copy on Vudu, and then Movies Anywhere, as always, is where all my digital stuff migrates to. If you don't have Movies Anywhere yet and you like DCAMs or any movie content online, you got to get Movies Anywhere. It's sick. It combines your Amazon shit, your whatever you have digitally, movies and TV-wise, it puts it all in there. Actually, sorry, not TV-wise, just movies. But yeah, I bought it on Vudu, brought it over to Movies Anywhere. So some special features on there. The new DC Showcase short, Kamandi, Last Boy on Earth. Not a huge fan of it, but it was fun. I'm glad it was a short. But it was cool. The animation style was very cool. It felt like you were literally inside like an old school comic. Long Halloween sneak peek. That was exciting, getting the Batman, the Long Halloween sneak peek. Typically, in case you're not familiar, the every DCAM before the one that comes out. So like, for example, and we actually talked about it in our last video, the behind the scenes for JS World War II was out for Batman Soul of the Dragon, the previous one. So usually it's the previous DCAM that has the behind the scenes and sneak peek stuff for the following one. So yeah, the next one's Long Halloween. So we got the Long Halloween sneak peek. Adventures in Storytelling. This is the JS World War II kind of roundtable press type thing, where it's a conversation between Megan Fitzmartin, the co-writers, Jeremy Adams, and then you have Butch Lukic, who again from Batman Beyond, he produced this, and Jeff Wamester, and they all talked about, and Jim Krieg, who produced it as well, and they all kind of did like a roundtable discussion on making this movie. That was pretty cool. Previews of Justice League versus Teen Titans and Wonder Woman Bloodlines, just kind of like, I call these filler special features. Those are older movies with just the previews. High-res gallery feature, one of my favorite things ever. You probably, if you follow us on Instagram, at DC Animated Movie Show or at Batman Beyond Media, we always have these gallery pics, and they're high-res, and they're dope. And it comes with every movie, not just the DC Animated Movie stuff, which is pretty sweet. And then finally, we have the, this is just something I wanted to mention. I just said this. JS World War II behind-the-scenes special features. Once again, if you want to see those are on the Soul of the Dragon Blu-ray and digital as well if you have the Movies Anywhere. So, and what's cool about in our last video, once again, it has B-roll of that same special features for that. So if you're interested in seeing some of the behind the scenes B-roll, check out our video. All right, so my review. Overall, this was a great experience to watch. Justice Society World War II. Not necessarily as a single movie though in one sitting. I am a bit disappointed story-wise, I'm not gonna lie. Watched it twice, and I say I'm a bit disappointed because, like, the DCAMU, the DC animated movie universe, the previous universe, a lot of those directed by Jay Oliver, the Phil Barossa designs, those movies, they all pretty much had the same quality, which to me was never like quite excellent. Some of it was excellent. Justice League Dark Apocalypse were excellent. They all just had like a similar quality to them. So I kind of never got my hopes up like crazy because I kind of knew what to expect. But I was excited. It's a new DCAM coming out. For me, I have a friggin' DC animated movie show. Still, this one I was extra excited because I really liked Man of Tomorrow. It didn't knock my socks off, but I was very excited to get a new DC animated universe. I love the animation style of Man of Tomorrow. That same animation style brought here, and then to meet that same Superman in this with Barry Allen Flash, it was fun to now have an official, new universe. I just felt like this. So I was disappointed because the story of this didn't meet. It didn't meet the quality of Man of Tomorrow, and also I thought it was going to be even better than that. So I had high hopes. Maybe that's my fault. Watched it twice. The behind the scenes special features. So this is why, once again, it's overall a great experience to watch, but not necessarily as a single movie in one sitting. And what I mean by that, I got to say, I watched it twice, and after the second viewing, the behind-the-scenes special features I was telling you about, that kind of roundtable that they have, he flat out goes, Jim Krieg goes, hey, so guys, like to the writers and the director, it's really 3 movies. And I'm like, that's the same thing that hit me the second viewing, was that I was just kind of bored due to stories not connecting. You have 3 movies in one movie here, and I don't know why they did this. So the first time, again, I couldn't quite put my finger on what's missing. I found myself bored. I was very tired. I was in the middle of moving. Again, we're between studios here. So I was like, maybe I'm just tired. I don't know. But I was kind of okay with. Point is, if I'm about to pass out watching one of these for the first time, I'm usually disappointed in myself because I want to watch the whole thing. As a unit, it's one piece of storytelling. I give myself a break the second time I watch a movie. And if I really hate it, I don't give a shit. I'll either turn it off or usually not off all the way, but I will happily pass out, let's say. This, I was like, nah, I want to stay up for it. Then the second time I realized, like, it's because these 3 different movies don't connect. So the second time, I realized it's a Wonder Woman World War II movie. The best part of this movie, by the way. And we'll get to that with the positives here when I get to some details of, like, the best part of this movie is Wonder Woman just tossing Nazis and Panzer tanks and all this amazing sound design, and they turn off the music and just you hear this woman and see this woman beat the ever-living shit out of Nazis and toss them like a goddess that she. I was about to say God, like the goddess she is. It just, you had that, and that was cool, but then it would go into this other stuff that didn't connect. Second movie, modern-day Barry Allen Flash, fish out of water / universe tie-in with Man of Tomorrow. I'll get to the details after this, but these are your 3 movies. Again, Wonder Woman World War II, modern-day Barry Allen Flash / MOT tie-in, kind of your and then your third movie is kind of your standard Justice League movie, like with a really cookie-cutter Atlantean invasion of old New York at the end, which, again, if it was just its own movie, would have been fine. But so my next point, I have no problem with any one of these stories. I just wish they'd picked 1 or 2 at the most to tell. You just couldn't fit all 3 of these in here. So again, a ton of fun to watch in parts. In fact, once I realized this was 3 different movies the second time, it made it a lot easier to just enjoy it, because now I just could turn it off whenever, and I treat it like a JSA animated series of World War II. It's like a JSA animated mini-series, and I'm okay with that. I'm not okay with it from a writing perspective, because again, it's supposed to be one unit of storytelling movies, but as a DCAM, like the fan, whatever, I can deal with it. So some positives for a minute, to switch to positives before I get deeper into the criticisms I have story-wise. Action was superb. Like the Wonder Woman especially, I told you that before. Again, you turn off the music. She's just tossing people, especially in the intro. Like, just unbelievable. I noticed that, so in the previous DCAMU, they really stepped up the storytelling from, like, the Justice League animated series from back in the day, like the DCAU. So the DCAMU really stepped up kind of martial arts wise. It felt like kung fu movies, watching Batman fight and all that shit. Then for this, though, what I realized, I'm like, what is new about this action? It's better superhero action. So Batman's a superhero. Superman's a superhero, obviously. There was great action in those movies, but they felt kind of like, I don't know, they just felt like standard action movies, where this felt like stepped up superhero action. I don't know if it was, again, the sound work, the way it went, but just Wonder Woman felt more Wonder Woman than ever in an animated movie than I've ever seen. There was that Wonder Woman 2009 movie that was great, but this they knocked it out the park, especially with the Wonder Woman. That should have been the movie. It's just Wonder Woman owning. And apparently, according to Butch Lukic in that roundtable, that was one of their original ideas. Every one of these DC animated movies, as they say in that roundtable, is like one of 30 that they could have done. And then this is just kind of the one that they chose and picked like a Chinese menu of like, let's do a little bit of this, a little bit of this. So one of them was they want to do a Wonder Woman World War II movie. That was a piece of this. That's just what they should have done. I don't know why they brought all this other stuff in there. And if you do a JSA movie, just don't make it 3 movies. Do a JSA movie or a Wonder Woman movie. I don't know. But yeah, man. Back to the action. It was brutal without overdoing the blood/gore. The Dekamu, there was a lot of just blood for the sake of blood. Like, I don't think it really served the story. I don't mind blood and guts if it does serve the story. Like in Apocalypse War, yeah, you could say that went a little too far, but that was almost like an Elseworlds. Like, what is the worst this shit could get? And to see our Justice League literally get torn in half by paradooms, that was badass and served the story. I felt like there was a lot of blood in those movies that didn't need to be. As well as like language, trying way too hard to be adult. This doesn't do any of that, so this was a huge refresher being in this new animated universe. Sound design, great once again. I don't know if that's because the Scorpion's Revenge. If you check out Mortal Kombat Scorpion's Revenge, again, I got the figure for that because the Best Buy exclusive that comes with the figure, because I just couldn't help myself when I saw that along with buying JS World War II. But like, it's because I love that movie so much. And one of the things that always stands out for me is remembering the special features. They have one just about the sound of that movie. And, Mortal Kombat, part of the DNA, part of the formula of Mortal Kombat, ultra violence. The sound is crucial to that. And they just break down all the sounds in that and how they recorded it and, cracking walnuts for bones, just all this sick shit that they did between the work of NetherRealm, who owns Mortal Kombat, and then the people who produced this movie. And they said that was one of they admitted, like, at Warner Brothers, they were like, this might be one of all the DCAMs, all the DC animated movies we've done. This might, the sound work of this exceeds all of that. Like, we're never going to do sound work like this outside Mortal Kombat because it's so damn violent. Anyway, I don't know if that, because Mortal Kombat kind of came out last year and is of this new guard of 2020/2021 movies that Warner Brothers is putting out. Maybe they're just stepping up the sound department in all their movies. Because there was also a sound thing for Batman Soul of the Dragon. They did a special feature on that as well. So maybe they're just stepping up sound altogether. But I thought sound was great. Animation is fantastic. I'm loving the new Archer style, that thick black outline animation style, almost cel-shaded. I've said many a times before, I love it. The backgrounds were top-notch, like very different from Dekamu backgrounds. I was never super impressed with, the Dekamu backgrounds. I always felt like they were kind of, Gotham never really impressed me very much. It was kind of cold and sterile, as were a lot of their backgrounds. But I also think that was just the kind of cold anime approach that they were taking overall. So it wasn't bad for what they were doing. This is just way more. So you have the again, that Archer foreground with the thick outlines and stuff, but then the backgrounds look like it's almost on paper. Gorgeous paintings, just that, the World War II scene, for example, or the Aquaman backgrounds, gorgeous paintings. And it looks like you can see the canvas almost. So cool. Really appreciated the animation in this movie. Voice cast was good all around. No one really blew me away, to be honest, but they all did well, I thought. Standouts to me, Jay Garrick, Armin Taylor, like I said before. I don't know what it was about his voice, but really good voice. Steve Trevor, Chris Diamantopoulos. This actor is fantastic. I actually couldn't believe it. He was on The Sopranos back in the day. He plays Jason Barone, who gets the shit beaten out of him by Paulie Walnuts. But anyway, that's like later on in The Sopranos. I didn't realize. I've seen The Sopranos so many times. But yeah, he was on Silicon Valley. He was on, what was the other thing? Episodes. Really good actor. Plays a complete psycho in Episodes. just an all-around good actor, and I thought he was interesting casting. I wouldn't have thought of him for Steve Trevor, but he makes sense. And normally he plays these crazy comedic characters, but then seeing Sopranos, it was interesting to see that side of him recently, of like, oh, that's a more serious Chris Diamantopoulos. I hadn't seen that side of him before. It makes sense to make this character. He has wit and humor and stuff in this, and kind of fast talking like he's in his other stuff, but this he's more old school, stoic, and very endearing. So, and just romantic as hell, old school 40s, which we'll get to the details. But he did a great job. Wonder Woman, Stana Katic, not bad, but not great. She's from Ontario, Canada. She was the voice of. So I don't know if it's because like normally I don't know if she speaks French Canadian or what, but like if she is of that kind of like speaking background, and then that made this accent weird or something. I don't know what happened here with the Wonder Woman accent, but it sounded like she was trying a little bit to do the Israeli Gal Gadot thing. Didn't really work for me, but she was the voice of Talia al Ghul on one of the Arkham games and did some other work too. No, she's great. Her performance was good. I just felt like the accent, let me be clear, accent wasn't huge for me. Again, spoilers, really love the Flash's marriage proposal at the end. Like, they knocked it out the park with the end of this movie. And it just cuts right to credits. Like, and those old school 40s credits, which brought back from the beginning, which was a lot of fun. It really felt like you're watching an old school World War II movie. It's old-timey music. Like, it sounds like it's recorded on old school stuff. And the credits looks like something out of Citizen Kane in the 40s. But, yeah, his proposal that, brings back what, again, I was just saying about Chris Diamantopoulos' delivery or his performance of Steve Trevor, and so endearing. And it's this adorable thing throughout the movie where he proposes to Wonder Woman every single day. It's just such a 40s, like, he's not a stalker like we would probably consider that now, but it like works, I guess, for the time. And it's established that she did promise to one day say yes. So every day he proposes to her. I thought that was just absolutely adorable. And then his dying wish is, he's just like, can you say yes now? Like, grant a man his dying wish. He drops the ring, doesn't really get his wish. And that is just like, I thought story-wise, while the story didn't work, I probably should have mentioned in the beginning, I thought the themes of this were really tight, really good, and when they were delivering the themes, they did them like, FedEx overnight delivered, like signed, sealed, delivered. Well done, because kind of like we only have today, Steve Trevor's mortal. Always that interesting interplay between Steve Trevor and Wonder Woman. She's an immortal goddess who, or demi-goddess, whatever you want to call her, who, doesn't have to face that very human thing, which is might not have tomorrow. And there's even a line, I think Flash says it, and he's just like, Wonder Woman goes, Steve doesn't know what he's asking. And he always says, he can't be serious about this whole, like, we might not get tomorrow. And Flash is like, for him, that's serious. Like, that's very real. For you, it might not be. And for Wonder Woman to then realize that theme of the importance of living for today, even though she's not forced to learn that lesson because she's not mortal. That all was really good. And then Flash to take that same ring that Wonder Woman gives to Flash and goes, don't make the same mistake I make. Take this essentially to the future, to a better world, and create a better world for yourself, and don't make the same fucking mistake I made, even though I'm a badass Wonder Woman. Like, that is really good storytelling. Everyone has flaws. Everyone has a point of view, as they say in the round table in this. They did a great job of that. I'll give them that. That was something I really liked in this movie. So some other big criticisms. Let's see, before I get into this, let's see if anybody's on chat. Patty chat, not quite yet. All right, let's jump into it, because I'm trying to, not trying to be diplomatic, like there's more negative than positive, but I got to say, I got some big criticisms. So some big criticisms. Not nearly enough Nazis or World War II in this. Like, the special features on Batman Soul of the Dragon, and in fact, it was going to be one of the DCAM fun facts in that last video we just made about these special features, is like, Jeremy Adams, the writer of this, said that it was going to be a Hitler gets the bomb first story, or what if Hitler got the bomb first? When the fuck was that part of the story? Like, I know we got the bombers at the end, but I don't know. I know, like, again, I know we had the Nazi bombers at the end in New York, but there should have been way more about Hitler developing the bomb and the building of that particular threat. Like, that's a big deal. I don't know. I don't know why that wasn't played up. Also, more about the Nazi occult, like the Raiders style, Raiders of the Lost Ark style Nazi occult stuff. That stuff in Raiders and they even said it in the roundtable of this, like they admitted, they're like, yeah, that was very Raiders of the Lost Ark. There was that like old school reel-to-reel 8mm found footage of them in the desert. And Nazis used to do that. Like, that shit from Raiders was real. Hitler was that crazy. He's like, not only am I going to annex fucking Poland and create whatever perfect world of only blonde hair, blue eyes people, even though I'm not. His whole psycho plan that we all know about with the Holocaust. On top of that, my man was sending people to like the Himalayas and looking for all this weird shit. And that's what, like, weird shit that he believed at one point that, like, I don't know if it was aliens or whatever it was, that the chosen people of the Nazis had, were sent, I don't know, really crazy shit. Point is, he would send these expeditions, crazy money that you would spend. I mean, imagine the 40s, like sending people to the Himalayas and to find all this weird shit. They do that in this. They did it in Raiders. Where was all that in this? Like, Nazis are, and Jim Krieg says it, the producer of this, in the Batman the Long Halloween special features about gangsters in the Batman the Long Halloween. But it's the same thing with Nazis in this, is that they're great superhero villains. Like, even though they're gangsters, or in this, even though they're Nazis, they're great superhero villains. Like, they brand themselves, they got the fucking swastika everywhere. Like, supervillains always have a symbol, or like a superhero would have a symbol. They always have henchmen. They always have these insane plans that involve just stuff that you couldn't even make up, except what's crazy is that they're real. And that's what's so compelling about stories like Long Halloween or mob stories or Nazi stories, is that these motherfuckers were real and are real. And so, like, play that up. Why are we not getting, like, even if it's not Hitler himself, why was a Nazi not a main character in this movie? I do not understand that at all. So, like, and then there's so much you could have done about superiority, especially with Aquaman Atlantis, as we all know, like Hitler, and they say it in the round table in this, and even in the special features before this, of like, there's never been, and I say it in the last video, there's never been a time of like more black and white villains. It's so clear in this war of World War II who the bad guy was. Adolf Hitler had a plan of superiority, wants to kill people. There's, and the good guys don't want that. That's clear as fuck. This was like, especially with Aquaman / Atlantis, you have a superior race, literally. I'm not being hard. It sounds harsh, but it's true. The Atlanteans are superior physically, maybe even intellectually. They have all this magic and whatever. They could take over the surface, but what makes Arthur Curry good is that he's not like a supremacist. If he gets mind control, which is some weird part of this movie, which we'll get to in a minute, but like, I don't understand why you didn't have a lot more of like the direct Nazis want to be superior and they think they're superior and they want to make everyone else inferior. That's very simple. Like, why not have some Nazi lay out his psycho plan and all those cool old school World War II animated maps of the plan? You could have just done a very straightforward, and even if you wanted to put some mystery in it, whatever, like, there just could have been a lot more fun, straightforward, just like Nazi occult stuff and superiority stuff in this. And who the hell was that dude mind controlling Aquaman? Like, again, I understand the tie-in with superiority to an extent, but like, the guy barely played that up, I don't think. Of saying like, you're way more powerful than these Earthlings. Like, let's go take them over. I mean, he does say that to an extent, but not enough. And it's just, it didn't, it just, to me, would have been a lot more compelling if it was almost like Hitler didn't have to mind control Aquaman, and he almost convinces him, and maybe Aquaman doesn't have enough information or something. And like, he's a Nazi, but doesn't even realize like, oh wait, no, this is totally, I don't know, just something. I'm flying by the seat of my pants here. Don't put that like in stone or whatever, but it's just there should have been, again, more direct Nazi stuff. And also, why not make him like Vandal Savage or someone we actually do know? You could have tied Vandal Savage. This is, in case you're not familiar, he's like a Cro-Magnon DC supervillain who like travels through time, or he's immortal. He's an immortal Cro-Magnon who has lived all this time, and of course, through that time, amassed intelligence, wealth, power. A meteorite hits the Earth, gives him superpowers and super intelligence, where he's able to evolve kind of mentally past the Cro-Magnons, survive thousands of years, and like he's seen history. He's seen what it means to like be on the wrong side of a war and stuff, but he has no moral compass, right? So you could have had him be the guy who like figured out a way to mind control Aquaman. I don't know, like I wouldn't have done the whole Aquaman angle in this. Maybe if he did, again, maybe tie it directly with the Nazis, like I was saying before. But like, I don't know, the whole mind control thing just didn't make any sense to me. I mean, it made sense, but so much more is sitting right there with the battling ideologies and all of the potential violence, even just hardcore, cool, weird sci-fi shit that you could have done, like Man in the High Castle stuff with Nazis. It's endless. Again, they're literal real-life supervillains, and like we barely got Nazis in this. Made no sense. Multiverse, convoluted. So like the multiverse stuff that they tried to do in this, for me, I don't want to say it failed, but like, again, they just could have done so much more interesting stuff multiverse-wise. So I have said before, like, and speaking directly to the movie, like time travel's not enough for a World War II DC movie. Like we have to make it an Earth 1, Earth 2 story. It's just, to me, like that whole thing lowered the stakes dramatically if you're preventing World War II on another Earth. So what happens in this case, you don't remember, is like Barry Allen Flash, when he accidentally goes, in Superman, it's like the Superman Man of Tomorrow in the beginning. And then we thought he accidentally traveled back in time by entering the Speed Force. But what we find out is he actually entered the multiverse, or traveled through the multiverse to another Earth. In DC lore, there's Earth 1, Earth 2. There's multiple Earths that tie together all these different versions of characters and shit. But to me, it's like time travel's not enough. Like the Flash he can travel between multiverses. Why the fuck, though, is it like, I just don't. And if you're going to do that, why not do the thing that we've all wanted and been suspecting this whole time of Justice League Dark Apocalypse War ended with Barry Allen Flash resetting everything with another Flashpoint. So a Flashpoint begins the Decamu, that whole universe of movies, 15 movies, begins in 2013 with a Flashpoint. It's a Flashpoint paradox. 15 movies are then ended with another Flashpoint to reset. Cool. Now you have a new universe. You have Barry Allen Flash in this movie, which, by the way, I don't even know if I would have had him in this. Like, that's another thing to cram into this. But if you're gonna, just that should be your multiverse if you're gonna play with it. It's a bold thing to play with it. I don't know how you would get like both animation styles. I've talked about this possibility many times on this show, but like now that I've seen this movie, I thought this was gonna manifest, and it didn't. And like, all right, maybe not what I specifically wanted. You can't complain like, oh, I did what I wanted, didn't come in the movie. You can't expect what you want at every restaurant. It's like, good luck with that. But it's also like, all right, if I go to an Italian restaurant and their pasta sucks, this is basic shit, dude. And again, like, it lowers the stakes dramatically if you're preventing World War II on another Earth. I mean, there's even a line from Barry Allen going like, they're like, oh, well, how should we, go after the Nazis in this situation? And he goes, well, I don't know. This past is totally different to me. I don't know what's going to happen. So it's kind of like, it's not really Hitler. And those aren't Nazis. It's Earth 2 Hitler and it's Earth 2 Nazis. Yes, it matters that that Hitler is possibly going to kill all these people on another Earth. Morally, of course, that matters. But in a harsh way, like, it doesn't matter to this Earth. Scientifically, it doesn't. Like, there's no cause and effect from Earth 2 or whatever Earth that was that he travels to. Point is, it's a past that that doesn't matter to this future. Like, it's a past, but it's not our past. that made no sense to do all that. Stories are about stakes, kids. If you're learning about storytelling, it's about stakes. What does that do to the stakes of this story that we learn that it's not even our Earth? I don't know. So in my notes, if you're going to do multiverse, again, do the DeCamu multiverse we've all been wondering about. Like doing a multiverse this soon, second movie in this universe, it just didn't work for me. Like doing your own multiverse now, like you're already starting a new multiverse. It didn't work for me. Straightforward time travel story with Barry Allen would have been plenty. Tie in with Man of Tomorrow and possibly the upcoming Long Halloween, and we all go home happy. Like the upcoming Long Halloween looks like a similar animation style. I'm not set on tying it all in, but look, at the end of the day, if you're going to do a universe, again, tie it in with MOT, possibly TLH, and we all go home happy. This just felt like a confusing multiverse mess in my lap at the end. Like that's how I felt at the end of this movie. I just had a big confusing multiverse in my lap. Although I didn't quite feel that way, I'm gonna redact that for a minute. I felt that way up to the very end, because what the very end does is what Jeremy Adams and apparently Megan Fitzmartin, whoever did this, these brilliant writers, that Flash proposal to Iris West, it made me cry both times. And what's weird is like Steve Trevor dying and not getting that wish. I don't know if that made me cry either time. Barry Allen, like just, and it's not that the Steve Trevor, because it made the Steve Trevor stuff pay off that much more. It was like, it made it matter that much more. It's not that it took away from it. It in fact, elevated it. So the end of this movie is superb, and I love how they cut right to credits. That's the best to me. If the movie's over, fucking end it. And not enough movies do that anymore, and this was great. So some closing thoughts. Again, overall a fun watch. It's overall a fun watch, but unfortunately just not in a single sitting. Like it just doesn't come together well enough as a movie for me story-wise, but I do enjoy watching it as a fun dub-to DC animated series. I really do. And again, they said in the behind-the-scenes stuff, like we're going to get more of these movies. And even Jim Krieg kind of said, like, this felt like watching it. In his words, like, I don't want to quote him directly, but he basically did say, I'll paraphrase, we'll call it. He goes like, it kind of doesn't matter that this is 3 different movies. I don't know if he was excusing that the stories don't come together. I don't know what he was saying, but he was basically like, it doesn't matter that this is 3 different movies because we're going to get so many more of these. If you're going to do that, do an animated series. I really hope that's not their overall approach to the rest of these movies. Long Halloween, that is a 2-parter, so maybe they're not going to make that convoluted, and those will just be real straight, clean stories. We'll see. Animation is fantastic. Action is top notch. I love all the new different directions they're doing post DeCamu. I talked about this before, like the Archer style animation with the thick black outlines. I love these backgrounds. I am really excited, and I love all the different directions they're taking. Again, maybe not all because story matters, but I love all the new, again, animation directions, and I love the action. I think they really dropped the ball on the Nazi stuff that they could have done, as well as the multiverse issues I mentioned, as well as their use of Aquaman. Like, I'm hoping for a much better use of Aquaman and Atlantis in future movies. But finally, to end kind of positively, this movie does still excite me for future installments in this universe. So I'm very happy they made it. Like, not just the animation, not just the action, but even the story beats in this, really good. I mean, parts of it literally made me cry. A fucking DC cartoon movie. If that can make you cry, like, that's good. It's just so well made, parts of it, and I'm looking forward to what they can do more. So that is it for a review of Justice Society World War II. Before we go, once again, please check out our newest YouTube video here in the channel with our DCAM fun facts on JS World War II. Speaking of new DC animated movies, don't forget about our recent vid coverage for Batman Long Halloween Part 1. That movie comes out this summer, and we now have 2 videos and podcasts covering that movie. One is called The Godfather of Long Halloween. Really proud of that video. I really like that one. And I'm proud of the newest JSA one. Like, editing's getting a lot better. I just think our videos are stepping it up. So check them out. So again, one is called The Godfather of Long Halloween, and the other is our trailer reaction for the upcoming movie. And for the ABB podcast, for the Above and Batman Beyond podcast, again, today's JS World War II review is a crossover with Above and Batman Beyond, so be sure to subscribe there for both parts of this review. All right, guys, so if you're new here to the channel, please consider subscribing. If you're new here to the channel, please consider subscribing on YouTube. Click that notification bell so you don't miss any of our new content. And for the podcast listeners, please subscribe to the pod. Just like the vid series, we are a DC Animated Movie Show. You can find the podcast on Apple, Spotify, and wherever you listen to podcasts. Again, this particular episode is available in both video and audio form, so you get to pick your poison for today's show. But again, please subscribe to both since there's plenty of YouTube stuff you're obviously not going to find on the podcast and vice versa. Follow us on Instagram. We are at DC Animated Movie Show. And follow the YouTube channel as well. We are at Batman Beyond Media. So this has been Benjamin David. And remember, animated, we stand.